Steph Curry is out with a left shoulder injury for, quote, a few weeks. Now, the Warriors organization traditionally has never been honest or forthcoming when it comes to injuries and timetables. It's kind of an NFL approach, and that's their prerogative. They can do that, right? So I think really the question with this very vague timeline for Steph Curry's shoulder injury is, are they being conservative or are they being optimistic? Because again, a few weeks is really open to interpretation. Now, shoulder injuries are very complicated, right? I fortunately have never had to deal with one, but what I do know is that because of the range of motion in your shoulder and your rotator cuff, they're very dynamic. You know, when a guy hurts his knee or his ankle, I think a lot of the time when doctors look at the imaging for it, as for a basketball player, it's like they've seen that same injury basically over and over again. And so the timetable is, hey, 6 to 8 weeks, we've seen that sprain right over and over. Again, the shoulder much more dynamic. So maybe part of the Warriors being vague is you just don't know how a shoulder is going to respond, right? But I think that big picture overall, we've got to be very grateful that this isn't a season-ending thing. Like when you start with the shoulder issues, if that was a full dislocation, that could have led to just a very slippery slope as far as the remaining years of this dynasty. So Curry, big picture, he's going to be all right. Again, the question now is, how long is this going to take for him to get back, right? And can the Warriors sustain? Can they hang around, right? But there are a bunch of different elements around this question. Now, I think that Dante DiVincenzo is fully capable of keeping the Warriors afloat. But the issue with Dante is now if you're asking him to play 30 or 35 minutes, he's not been a pillar of health either. And that's just his playing style. He's a dog, right? He's such a high motor guy, get on the floor 50-50 ball guy that he tends to get chipped up. But that said, he's been healthy and he's been playing better and better, as you've noticed, kind of closing lineups for us of late, right? And so I think Dante's more than capable, again, of kind of guiding the ship. But now you ask the question, where do you make up for that scoring, that 30 a night? The system, right? Well, you don't, right? That's the easy answer. You don't. But it's got to be by committee, right? Did I say that right? Committee, right? You get Moody in there a little bit. He's hitting some corner threes. Can Wiggins, instead of Wiggins giving you 18, can he give you 22, 24, right? But ultimately, how they stay afloat, it's not going to be their offense. It's going to be their defense. That's what's going to have to guide these next few weeks. But there are just, it's going to be very interesting, right? Clay has to be contained, right? Clay has to be contained now. The number one gunner now with Steph out, like is he going to average 25 shots a night? You know, I think he's got to just still stay within himself, even though, you know, Steph is out, because that would be the natural tendency from some of these guys. Are they going to try to do too much with Steph out? Like Poole and Clay in particular, they're going to try to be heroes, right? And they've got to just trust each other as teammates, lock in defensively, and if they play the right way, they'll have enough offense, I believe, if they defend enough. Now, the other element of this is, let's say they don't stay afloat. And I mean, you look at this road trip, there's a good chance they don't win a game, right? They're depleted, bad matchups. And at what point do they punt on the season? I've had people ask me, is there a way to wank for Wemby? That's not how you say it. You know what I'm saying, right? Now, you're like, no. The answer is no, right? You've got 5 elite tank teams when you look at the standings, all almost in one division. That the Pistons have just shut Cade down for the season. He's having season-ending surgery on that shin. That's unfortunate, but that's the decision they've made. And, you know, everybody, Wemby. Scoot Henderson, to me, is probably just as intriguing of a prize at the number 2 pick. Now, it's not as unique, right? But Scoot might be more of a sure thing if you want to be honest about it. But no, I don't think that they're going to be able to tank down that far. And then you also consider the payroll and the tax that they're going to have to pay. I don't see them doing that. But you've heard the news probably over the last 24 hours. James Wiseman is headed to Philadelphia. I assume he's going to play tonight. Philadelphia, Embiid, who do you put on Embiid? You're going to ask Draymond and Looney to be on Embiid all night? Um, but I think the part that people are missing with the call up of James Wiseman is Ryan Rollins, the other rookie out of Toledo. And a lot of people have sent me the links to Wiseman's Santa Cruz highlights. Oh, here he comes. What did he have, 31 the other night? Did you see the dude he was going against? Did you see that guy? There's just not enough resistance. Now, I'll give him this. He's catching the ball. His hands look good, right? His hands, he's rolling on time, and he's scoring a lot in the pick and roll, but the problem is you're just not seeing much resistance being put up. It's not going to look or feel that way for Wiseman in the NBA, but hey, his confidence seems to be growing, and his hands looked good, right? But the timing, and I don't know. But again, I'm bearing what I want to talk about. Ryan Rollins is the guy that's impressed me when I've went and looked at the Santa Cruz highlights. He's averaging 24 and 4 efficiently. He's a big 6'3", long 6'3", 6'4", and he looks like he likes to defend. That's what's intriguing. A lot of these young guys coming into the league, you put the ball in their hand with enough opportunity, yeah, they'll score. Can you defend? And I think that part of drafting Rollins was the idea that he could possibly be a two-way guard. And so, in a point of attack defender, long, athletic, and again, there's a want there. Now, he is a rookie. He's not going to know personnel. He's going to probably get in foul trouble. But I think that more so than using Wiseman with Steph out, I think it's an interesting opportunity for Rollins to crack the rotation and see if he can contribute, particularly on the defensive end. But he's got a jumper, he's got a stroke, pause, right? A little midi and long. He's a scorer as well. And so I'm intrigued to see Ryan Rollins. Now, do you change the offense? You asked the question, where does some of this scoring come from? Kuminga has obviously kind of broken into the rotation and just continues to contribute more and more. Does that mean more post catches for Kuminga? High elbow catches? Let him ISO score a little bit? Does that mean some ISO opportunities for James Wiseman? Right? Not likely. I feel like Kerr and they're not going to abandon the system, even though Steph is the system. But it's an opportunity here, at least in this East Coast road trip here, where I don't know how much you look at Vegas's odds. We probably aren't going to be favored in any of these games at this point without Steph. To just play a little differently with these young guys and give them a better shot. There's the Wiseman apologists. All we've heard about is, well, it's the system. They're not using him right. Play him at the 4. Let him shoot the 3. And hey, I'm not disagreeing. I agree. Clearly, he doesn't fit within the system. But I don't necessarily think that you alter the system for Wiseman. I don't know if he's that type of talent, but now the Warriors have found themselves in a situation where, being a little bit desperate may open up opportunities and allow them to go against what they traditionally do. And so, as frustrating as this may be, there's so many questions and interesting little storylines within this. But again, as far as Steph in this timetable, your guess is as good as mine, right? Is it going to be like 10 or 12 games? Is it going to be more like 20 games? I don't know. We don't know, right? I do think that there is a possibility for them to thread the needle with this. And I'll tell you why. It's because when you look at the parity in the Western Conference, right? Traditionally, there's usually 5 or 6 power teams, meaning like they're locked into the playoffs, right? And then there's teams battling out for the 7th, 8th, and then obviously the play-in is another opportunity that keeps hope alive as well, right? But you look at the parity in the Western Conference with everybody hovering around 500, it may allow this skid to not knock us out. It could lose 6 or 7 in a row and then still have an opportunity to hang and get in. Probably not in the position that you want, but it still allows an opportunity. And so, yeah, man, prayers up to Steph. Speedy recovery. We know, here's the thing with Steph is he's going to do everything in his power to get back out there as soon as possible. And he's the shoulder, man. At least it's the left shoulder, right? But it was devastating when it happened, right? I think all Dub Nation just took a gasp like, was the season over? Is it time to just give Wiseman 20 touches in the paint a night? We're not there yet. Let's see how long this losing skid goes and see if some of these other guys can step up and maybe get right. There is a way that this is a blessing in disguise, as crazy as that sounds. But you look at the landscape of the West and you look at some of these young players who have the potential to contribute. Got to get Wiggins back. I haven't brought that up, but we can't afford to miss Wiggins. Hopefully he plays in Philadelphia tonight. So I'll be back with a breakdown of this Sixers game tomorrow on my Patreon, and perhaps a look at Ryan Rollins and James Wiseman. I don't know what choice Kerr has right now, but to take a look at these kids in this situation. Now, if we see 38 minutes of Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome tonight in Philadelphia, maybe I'll be back on this YouTube channel tomorrow to hand Kerr a piece of my mind. But let's wait and see. Hit that like, share, and subscribe. I'm out, y'all.